Over here, I'm going to add some browns. I see some browns in the picture I'm looking at, also over here. And part of that may just be reflections off nearby surfaces, but I think it's nice. It would be nice to give it a little bit more color rather than just using Payne's gray over the entire body. So I'm gonna use a bit of burnt sienna here. So it's a little counterintuitive because we know that the body itself is not brown. But I think if we play around with this a little bit, and if I just actually make this a little lighter, so I'm lift up a little bit of this color and make sure that this area over here remains darker, I think it'll still work. Even though it's kind of an artificial coloring, it gives off the impression that there's some brown in the scene, maybe off frame, and it might be a nice effect. And I think I'll put a little bit of brown up here. It's actually a part of the dial where there's a kind of an inset display where you can adjust the ISO of the film, and it's actually like a little window into a dial, that silver dial that turns. A couple other spots where there actually is brownish. There's like, I don't know if it's rust, but it looks like it's on the metal. So there's actually some brown tints. And over here, I think there's some here. And then definitely in the lens there is a bit of a brownish tint. So I'm just gonna put a light layer of that. Once that dries later, we can do a little bit more glazing with some other shades, and it will help make it look like glass. There's a little bit of a texture on this front surface. These are basically where your hands would fall and you're gripping. So I'm gonna just put in a few dots there to represent that. And once those dry, they should lighten up a little bit so it won't seem like polka dots. And I think in the next phase, I'll be ready to rub off the liquid mask, and you can see how that looks. All right, before we actually take off the liquid mask, I'm going to fill in a few more areas. So at a certain point, I'm just gonna have to use a smaller brush in order to get some of these fine details. And I'm going to try to cover up a little of this brown, make it skew a little bit more towards the Payne's gray, the bluish tones of the Payne's gray. And I'll have to use a fine brush to get some of these thinner lines that are found on the body, and also lift out finer highlights that I can't really do with this size brush. And lastly, I'm gonna also work on the lens, the parts that are inside in the lens barrel. Just try to give a little bit more depth. Some of this I'll have to wait until everything dries, and then I'll do a few more layers.